Hello, my garden friends. This is Jersey Shore Lisa from MyNJGarden.com, and I am here in my front yard food forest, my garden, and I wanted to show you how I handle squash vine borers in my yard. And this is what I'm doing this year. Now you can see zucchini planted among many other things in this bed. There's perennial kale here and bush beans and some peppers, some kind of a vole just cut down a pepper that was planted in that spot. I've planted bush beans right after it, but you could see another pepper there. It's a sweet pepper, another one there. But I do have 3 zucchini planted among, there's a garlic planted among all this stuff in the bed. And this is small. This is a young zucchini, but I know that it is vulnerable to the squash vine borers that get my zucchini and squash plants every year. So here's a second one, and here's a third one. Not long ago, I lifted the protective shield barrier that I had around those young plants. I did not plant starts. I actually seeded directly into the garden zucchini in very early spring, and I kept cages around them until the plants got large enough to touch the edges of the cage. Once they touched, I removed the cages and moved them to another part of the yard and planted more zucchini, so that when the squash vine borers get this plant and take it down, because they inevitably do, and I know there are many things that gardeners will do to try to get by those squash vine borers. They will wrap the stems of the plants in tin foil. They will come out at night with a flashlight and shine it behind the stem and then poke with pins in to impale the little worms and grubs. But I'm not doing that. I am just going to stay ahead of them and keep planting throughout the season. So let me show you where I planted new plants in the yard. We'll head over to the backyard so I can show you where I've planted some new squash for the second round of zucchini. Now, it's been raining a lot here this week, and yesterday it poured, thunderstormed. So I think it's going to be storming quite a bit over the next few days this week. Even today has a 30% chance. So in a recent video, I showed you a couple of things that were growing in the backyard, but I just tucked in some bush bean seeds into that pot that's sitting there. I replaced some cucumbers that got chopped down by some kind of a pest. I just reseeded that pot with cucumbers, and that pot has cucumbers growing in it. I'm going to attach some chicken wire to the fence here so that they have a chance to grow up it. And in front of the cucumber pots, you can see blackberries starting to get ripe. These are thornless blackberries, and they're doing great this season. So this is my next planting of zucchini. Now, I did move these cages about a week and a half ago, and I tried to plant some yellow crookneck squash, but I think the seed was old. Absolutely none of them came up. But I've just replanted zucchini under these cages, and all these are things that you'd use to protect food if you were doing like a picnic outside and you didn't want flies to get in your food. So they're really in like the housewares section of any store that sells barbecue stuff and things for outdoor entertaining. So that's what I did. I actually got these off Facebook Marketplace for just $1 a piece, and they're made of metal, and I've used landscape pins, and I'll show you. I've just poked a couple of landscape pins through the sides, And now I'm putting them there and tucking the landscape pin into the soil to protect those newly planted seeds. And as those squash come up, they'll have a good head start in front of the bugs. I'm going to let those next round of zucchini come up until they touch the inside of the cage. Then I'll lift the cage and move it to another spot and plant the last round of zucchini for the year, or maybe the second to last, depending on how much time I have. That way, as soon as plants start to suffer because squash vine borers have laid their eggs on the leaves of the plant, the little grubs have hatched and they burrow their way into the vine of the squash, and then they kill the plant. I can just cut down those plants, throw them in the trash, and not even worry, not even flinch that I'm not going to have zucchini throughout the season, because I absolutely will. I'll have round after plants ready to give me a harvest all season long. So you could see that around this bed I've got a swing support that I'm gonna tie up these tomatoes as they grow, and I'm going to support them with that string. And then the back row of tomatoes I'll tie up to the fence to keep them off of the ground. And oh, this is such a mess in the front, but this was a kale or broccoli rabe that I just let overwinter there because it bloomed so early and the pollinators were liking it. And I'll probably save some seed from that. And then this is some arugula, and I'll definitely save seed from that. Look at those fat arugula seed pods. That's going to be terrific. So that's why I've left those there. It looks pretty messy, but it's there for a reason. And I just wanted to share my strategy for harvests of zucchini all throughout the season with no chemicals, and a way to get around those squash vine borers and the havoc that they wreak on our gardens every year. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. Please subscribe to the channel and like the video. I'm going to keep updating every week throughout the growing season so you can see what's happening in MyNJGarden.com. Happy gardening. Have a great day.